Transfercar is what we today call a two-sided marketplace. So we try to match relocations that need to be moved from one branch to another with people that are looking for an alternative way of travel. So what we do here is to list the vehicles on the website for the rental car companies, and anybody can then go to the website and pick a free vehicle. So we have quite a lot of vehicles on the site at the moment, both standard vehicles, camper vans, motorhomes. A lot of them include for example, ferry across the islands, or also petrol, so you can actually find quite a good deal on the website today. We quite recently introduced the Transfercar 2.0, which you can see here is a screenshot of the website as it looks today. What I want to do today, because more or less we have been existing since 2008, and I'm not going to necessarily spend a lot of time talking about what we are today. I'm talking more about how did we actually get this started. I think for us, Spark sort of was a good way to sort of get involved in the whole way of starting our business, because you get a template, you can start filling out the small gaps, and when you sort of have an understanding of a concept, that's also when you start building the confidence in terms of actually starting up the business. However, for us, we were also quite lucky. Both we won Spark, we won $1,000, but at the same time, we also raised seed capital. We more or less submitted the same business plan as we submitted to Spark. Back then it was a slightly different format. I think it was 3,000 words rather than 1,000 words. But again, it was pretty short and sharp. We submitted that to different investors, and we raised $150,000 to actually develop the application. However, I'm not saying necessarily that capital is important when you start a business. We were just lucky back then that the capital was available, and we took it, of course, to develop the application and also promote the site. At the same time, I guess both myself but also my business partner, we were quite new to New Zealand, so we actually did get a lot of help from Spark in terms of introduction to rental car companies, but also just general business advice. So 6 years down the track, I guess the major events, of course, were the launch in New Zealand. Here we put it on as an event, but at the same time it happened half a year later than we thought. So actually at the time we have launched, we were more or less out of the money, so we spent $150,000 on rent and parties and everything else you do. You have a lot of money in your pocket. And 2 years later we launched in Australia. This is during the recession, so there was really tough times. So certainly we were focused here on just generating money. We sort of, because of that, changed our focus of the business from being sort of more focused on the application to more focused on just selling. With that, we managed to hire staff, and that certainly created a completely different business structure for us. We had to take more responsibility, and also we could see the business start growing quite steadily. We launched Transfercar 2.0 in 2013, so that's more or less 5 years down the track. And I think this is a very important milestone for us. There's been a lot of research around online businesses, and when they do get into sort of that 2.0 version, that means they are more sustainable. And that certainly also applies to us. On top of that, we managed to raise almost $500,000 quite recently from a US investor, which means that we are at the moment working on the US loans. I think one of the things we really wanted to do in the beginning was to come up with the best idea here. So we spent a lot of time thinking creatively about the idea, but at the end of the day, everything is just a remix. You grab and you steal everywhere, and you can see all these Trade Me sort of lookalike sites coming up as well. If you look at our new design, it's all stolen from Airbnb. So again, everything is a remix. I don't think you should hold yourself back just because you don't feel you have the right idea. A good idea can actually be just a new way of promoting something existing. It could be a new way of shuffling around some resources. It doesn't have to be original. The other thing is being too academic, and I guess being at a university, this is one of the things we teach you, including myself being a teacher sometimes. I think you sometimes need to forget about what you read in a book. A lot of the experience you get with a business is actually gained from going out talking to people. And I think we spend a hell of a lot of time thinking about what do these rental car companies need. And we were Googling and we were reading books. Well, there's no books about relocations and rental cars, but we were sort of reading whatever we could come across to find out how we should design these kind of things. But actually what we learned the most was actually just going down talking to a rental car company, which Jeff sitting down here was so kind to introduce us to, which was Juicy, and Juicy turned out later on to be our biggest customer. But again, just going down to talk to these people, those people you think might want to use your service, is certainly much better than thinking and reading and doing more and more research. The other thing is forecast and budgeting. Of course, this is a requirement if you want to raise capital, that you have some ideas about what you want to spend the money on. But at the same time, I have never ever been able to create a budget that was just 10% correct. And it's not because I think I'm better at making budgets, it's just the reality. It's just too difficult. So try to get out of this mode of sitting and researching and thinking through everything in the future, because it's so hard with startups. The other thing is that you will always get into these challenges. I know it's a cliche. At the same time, I think what I can see characterize entrepreneurs these days are those that never give up. They continue as long as you do progress. Of course, you need to give up if you can see that this leads nowhere, but at the same time, as long as you're doing small progress, don't give up. Just continue, because sooner or later you're gonna reach a momentum, or you're gonna reach a breaking point, a tipping point, where you can see things suddenly just looks different because you have reached a certain critical mass and so on. And that's certainly something that applies to us in New Zealand, also in Australia. The other thing is that you need to be flexible in your lifestyle, and for me it was quite important to be able to come and teach here at the university sometimes, because certainly you're not getting rich from a startup. Basically the income I had was what I earned from teaching at the university, and I spent all my time on developing the business for free, you can say. I mean, of course there will be a return hopefully one day, but at the same time it's not where you're going to get paid from. So having a flexible lifestyle certainly helps it, and that's why sometimes students are extremely suitable for starting out business, because they can sort of juggle different things at the same time, which a lot of people cannot if they're working full time.